Morning, good morning, or afternoon, or evening, or whenever you listen or watch this. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Bachelorette recap, our episode 4, which is very confusing.
What's the name of our show?
Of the Right Reasons.
Thank you. Welcome to the Right Reasons, everybody.
It is this guy's birthday today.
It's my birthday.
Usually our work around the Bachelor Bachelorette franchise does not or would not have overlapped with Kyle's birthday this year because it's on a Wednesday.
Thanks, NBA Finals.
Yeah, however, because of the basketball game and the show airing last night on a Tuesday, we're coming to you live on this guy's birthday.
It's all right.
It's what I call commitment.
It you know it is. This is if anyone ever wonders really if my heart's into this, this is it. Especially Rachel and I were recapping before we get into recapping, we were thank you. Mm-hmm. We were reminiscing. About how we got here in the last year since my 31st birthday, because I'm 32 today. And if you told me a year ago, because we hadn't moved to New York yet, we were on our way to. If you told me a year ago that I'd be doing this, I legitimately would not believe you.
Wait, doing what? Can you specify?
Because
this is a very fake word.
Doing a live recap of The Bachelor and Bachelorette on YouTube, which is then turned into a podcast. So if you're listening to the podcast, thank you. No, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have guessed I'd be doing this, especially like examining the way that the show handles mental health, relationships, sex, the things that we talk about at Wright Wellness Center. I would not have said that this is something that I'd be doing. However, I'm very happy to be doing it, but wow.
Yeah. I mean, I can pretty much say the same thing. As long as I've watched the show, I never thought that there would be a way to integrate what I did for work, especially when I was just a therapist in private practice. Well, not just. When I was a therapist in private practice.
Just a master's degree holding therapist with her own private practice in San Francisco.
We used to live in San Francisco. I never, ever would have thought. In fact, I had so many therapist friends that were like, how do you watch this show? And I would always say, like, I love it so much. I love the Bachelor franchise. And this season has reminded me why I love it so much. And not because I'm like massively entertained, which I am. And not necessarily because there is like one person in particular that I'm really rooting for, even though I kind of am for like 4 of them. It's really, I'm so glad that we have this show during this particular season, because there is so much going on in this season that needs to be discussed and needs to be talked about in a way that is healthy and helpful, and not just, hey, let's leave this guy alone. Like, let's stop being mean to Luke P. I've heard that a lot, and I've seen it a lot online. And I actually just wanted to give a listener shout out before we get started.
Yeah, let's do
it. Really quick.
Let's do it.
I'm really bad at Twitter. I'm like learning how to use Twitter. I know I sound like
saying how bad I am at Twitter.
Well, no, I am. I'm trying to learn it. Facebook and Instagram, I'm like all over it. But Twitter, I don't know. I just don't understand how it works.
It's cool.
I mean, I get it.
No,
anyway.
I'm bad at it too.
Okay, so this shout out goes to our listener, Aaron Jennings. I logged onto Twitter yesterday and saw that somebody had retweeted my tweet about our recap show. And I was like, oh, somebody saw this? Oh, cool. Okay. And I read it, and I just wanted to share it with all of you because it really meant so much to me, and I know so much to Kyle. So the tweet said, recently stumbled across the Right Reasons podcast, and after just one episode, already sincerely believe that it is the most important Bachelorette, Bachelor Nation recap pod out there. Important discussion about abuse and the different shapes it can take.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for seeing us, for seeing what we're doing with this show, and for that shout out. It really means the world to us. We want to bring this discussion in a fun way. We don't just want to like sit and talk about serious shit and be sad, because that's not the point of the show.
No.
So thank you for seeing that and for sharing that with your people. And if you guys want to shout us out on Twitter, Instagram, or stories, we'd love to shout you out on our show too.
Same. You
All
ready
right,
to get into
birthday
this?
boy.
Oy, okay.
So, okay, before we get into the episode, 2 words to describe last night's episode. I'm putting him on the spot.
Jesus. It can, instead of a word, can it be like an action, like me rubbing my forehead in sort of frustration? 2 words to describe last night's episode, like 2 words together, like a 2-word frame,
no,
or
just
like 2
two-
individual. Okay.
Either
Frustrating would be my first word, and then also another word. I would say it's frustrating and also interesting, because there's a lot that went on in last night's episode that I don't know. It's frustrating to watch and also interesting, but not in a positive way where like nature is interesting to me. Interesting in the way that my tinfoil hat theories around producer manipulation kind of started coming true a little, and that was interesting in a way I didn't like. So that's fun. Oh, can I add a third word?
Sure.
Clarity. It's the name of the episode today.
Oh, and if you watch the episode, you know why.
Okay, so just to get into it, let's do this thing.
Yeah, let's
ready?
do it.
All
I'm
right.
ready.
So if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for bearing with the intro part of this. We're going to get right into the recap. And hi, YouTube. This is fun.
Yeah, so quick, like 2 housekeeping things. If you're on YouTube, can you be sure to like this video if you like it, give it a thumbs up, and just leave us a comment. Tell us who you are. Let us know your thoughts. We love interacting with you, and every time you click something on YouTube, it helps other people find the video. So even without you sharing it directly, it's really helpful.
It's true.
And if you're listening to the podcast, if you can give us a 5-star rating and a review, it does the exact same thing. So thank you for that in advance.
All right, let's get into this. So we got Rose ceremony blocked last episode, which we waited 8 days for the dumbest thing I've seen in quite some time. Thank you, ABC Production, for dragging out the dumbest shit ever. We start with Hannah sitting down the Lukes and talking to them like they're children. Actually, like they're children.
I mean, I would have been talking to them the same way.
Oh, no. It also...
Are you criticizing Hannah?
No, I'm criticizing just all of it. Like, if I'm in Hannah's position, let's say I'm the Bachelor or Bachelorette, whatever, and 2 of my contestants are bickering like that nonstop, and I have to tell them to stop trying to tell me what you think and talk to each other in front of me, right then and there, that's the sign to me. Send them both home. If they can't get their own shit together enough to actually make me the priority, which you are because you're the lead of the show, what's the point? They're so wrapped up in their own shit. They're clearly not there for you. They're clearly there to get attention. Who cares? And honestly, I fault Luke S. the least in this case.
Yeah, so here was my biggest issue with this setup was Luke P is so good at lying with a straight face that Luke S was the one that was getting worked up because he was actually showing
emotions,
feelings, and he was actually expressing the emotions that were coming up, which were frustration, irritation, annoyance. Like, think about from the time that he got body slammed till now, it's just been like go, go, go. And the cortisol, the stress hormone in his brain is just like fucking flowing through him. And so by this point, he's just over it.
Yeah.
And Luke P looks like if you just took this scene in a vacuum, Luke P looks like the calm, mature one.
Now, one caveat to what you said. I don't think that Luke P keeps a straight face. I think that he has a blank face.
No,
and there's a difference. One requires effort and consciousness. One is the default setting of your face.
So I agree with you. I totally agree knowing everything that we know about him. However, Hannah has spent not a lot of time and does not get to see the nuance that we see as viewers. So just this scene, like in a vacuum, Luke P looked like the calm, cool, collected guy, and Luke S looked like the agitated, like I did something wrong and I'm defending myself guy, which was frustrating as shit as a viewer because obviously it's the other way around.
Right. Okay, so I agree with that. Okay, so they get into it a little bit, and it's just a lot of this back and forth stuff. Luke S calmly and very well articulated explains exactly what was going on, exactly from all the truth that we know. If we were to believe everything we're shown, Luke S tells 100% of the truth the entire time in a calm and collected way. Whereas Luke P starts gaslighting, and basically Luke S calls him out for speaking for Hannah. He in front of her says, well, Hannah doesn't want something like this. So I forget exactly the phrase that he uses, but he basically insinuates that he knows what Hannah wants, and Luke S goes, are you speaking for her? Or does she not get to choose in this case? And I wish they had focused more on that, and Hannah at this point doesn't want to hear it from either of them and leaves. I wish that she had heard that a little bit more because that's indicative of a larger issue that we're going to get into later on in the show.
I agree. What I wish
bullshit
they had done for this interaction, and I'm sure it was production that did this, but I wish that all of the men had been there and she sat down every single guy in the house instead of taking them one by one, because then they can all have their own version, and just say, okay, 15 guys, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
These two had a conflict. Tell me all the things, because you all seem to dislike the same guy, and I'm getting mixed messages.
Yep.
I don't think production wanted that to happen, because then I think Luke would have gone home right away.
Both
Lukes. Yeah. But I wish that is how it went, because then Luke S wouldn't have looked like the agitated guy.
Yeah, so Luke P keeps doing this thing that people do when they want to be correct in an argument or discussion regardless of what anyone else says. He keeps saying, well, I feel this way. My feelings are this. My feelings are this. And this is a common manipulation tactic that's happening. Exactly. This is the common manipulation tactic happening in when you see people discuss politics or religion or heavy topics whatsoever nowadays, especially on the internet. They will say, well, I feel this. My feelings are this, because you can't necessarily argue with someone's feelings because you can't feel their feelings. So it's a trick to take control of a conversation and to negate someone's opinion or argument almost instantaneously. And it's a dirty trick, and Luke P does it consistently throughout this episode. Well, I'm showing my feelings. That doesn't matter, because you're not showing anyone else what they are, and you're just trying to explain why you're right and using the word feelings as a defense mechanism. It's bullshit.
And that's the thing, is it's really his perception is the word he's trying to say, like my experience or what I saw, but instead he's like, my feelings, and yet there are no emotions.
Right.
And you're right. It's 100% a tactic, because then you can say, you can't argue with my feelings.
100%.
However, I wish I had been there, because I would have been like, what feelings?
Of course.
I didn't hear any feelings.
I wrote down, just because you feel something doesn't make it true. So it's more back and forth. I felt bad for Luke S in this. He's just saying everything that's the actual truth from what we know.
You know what? That's a line in Mean Girls. During one of the songs in Mean Girls, the Broadway show, during Stop, he says, because when you feel attacked, that's a feeling, not a fact.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That's good.
Hey, my world's crossed.
Good job. No, that's true. I remember that. Anyway, so I feel bad for Luke S in this case, because he's just trying to do the actual right thing, and he's getting the worst end of it because she's not paying attention. She's not listening. Luke S doesn't defend. Well, you can't defend against someone like Luke P in this case, because he's constantly going to make shit up. He's moving just as fast as you are on the conversation and in the argument. And it ends with Hannah leaves and Luke S. I love this part. And I wish that more people got to see this, besides, the millions of viewers. But I wish people in the mansion had gotten to see this.
I was like, wait, who?
Because he just lays into Luke P in the calmest, most authoritative way. He just says, you're so full of shit, it's incredible, it's coming out your ears, but not in an aggressive way. And he just keeps telling him, dude, you're lying constantly. This is ridiculous. And I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, however, I will say that even watching him, I felt myself not as therapist Rachel, but as like just person Rachel.
Show fan
I was
Rachel.
getting annoyed with Luke S.
Yeah.
And so that is so frustrating to me that this was portrayed in a way that actually had us not rooting for him. It was hard. It's like, and they talked about this on the Almost Famous podcast last week, is that typically in the Bachelor world, when there's like a quote unquote villain, you're rooting for the other person. So like when on Chris Soule's season, Kelsey and Ashley I had the 2-on-1 date, and Kelsey was so mean to her. She was so mean to her. She's like, I'm here and Ashley's here. Like she was patronizing and rude, like outwardly. And so no matter how you felt about Ashley, it was a clear like,
There's
well, this
villain.
person's being a dick.
Yeah.
Go away. But with this, Luke S. felt annoying. So it was like you didn't really want either of them to quote unquote win, which was
Yes.
frustrating as a viewer.
I get that. So Hannah leaves. Chris comes out, announces there's no cocktail party, and they're going right to the rose ceremony.
Well, they
And
ended
then-
the cocktail party because they were at it.
Oh,
when-
well, it was supposed to start, and they talked. The two Lukes went off with Hannah first. She walks in saying cocktail party time and pulls both Lukes at the end of last week's episode.
I
and
thought
that's what
that
we
we
saw.
ended during the cocktail party last
No,
time.
because the other guys didn't get a chance to talk.
Well, some of them didn't.
Well, right. So like Devin, Dylan didn't, and a couple others.
But the
So-
cocktail party was happening.
I'll have to go back to the last episode.
I'm
I don't
pretty
remember.
sure
Anyway.
it doesn't matter.
So we get one clip before the commercial break of Mike. Mike has Luke P's number at this point. He knows what's going on. I think that he's taken a step back from last week's episode and is being more observational at this point. Because he just says to the guys, they're all talking about it, he's like, shit talk does not get through to him. So, like, being confrontational is not a way to, get through this guy. So the fact that Mike is aware of that and sharing it is really, really good. Commercial break.
Yeah, so we go to
Yeah.
commercial, we come back, and it's the rose ceremony.
Yeah.
And right before Hannah starts handing out the roses, Luke S. is like, Hannah, can I talk to you for a second? And my head went into my hands.
Yeah, I
I was
was like, I
like-
know where this is going. Bye-bye.
First of all, it never, in the history of The Bachelor,
Has anyone watched it?
I-
I know this.
right? Like, I've never seen somebody, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm remembering incorrectly, and you're like, no, that one time. I have never seen anybody pull the lead aside mid or beginning rose ceremony and then have that, like, change their mind or go really well. Like, she's done with this, dude. She's done.
Yeah, so he talks to her. He apologizes for causing any pain.
Which was
and
ni-
then,
that
which
was nice.
I wish
That
that
was
he had
very
just said
nice.
that.
Before.
And then he starts talking about you need to watch out for Luke P. He's this and that. He's saying what we're thinking, but you're doing it at a point, Luke S., that doesn't do much for you. And so he leaves, but it's unclear as to whether he left on his own volition or Hannah's like, dude, no, that's it.
Well, Hannah says he decided to go home, and I don't want anybody here who doesn't want to be here. However, was she really going to give him a rose?
I don't know. I would love to know if he chose to walk out knowing that he wasn't going to get a rose anyway. Part of me thinks he saw the writing on the wall and he's like, you know what? Screw the ceremony. I'm walking out the door because he just ghosts.
I mean, I wouldn't blame him.
Shit, I'd do the same thing. I'd go start my tequila company the next day.
I know.
Luke S., if you're seeing this, first customer. I will buy your tequila. I love tequila. I will buy that tequila.
Oh, poor guy. He got the shit end of the stick.
That's
of
what I'm
this whole
saying.
thing. It just really.
All
Yeah.
right, so here's who gets a rose.
So wait. I
What?
just want to address when Hannah comes back. One of the things that I really appreciate about Hannah is that she is leaning into this I don't have to be perfect all the time thing that she has realized through the course of the past couple years. This girl does not have a poker face
No,
anymore.
she looks
She
terrible.
looks tired. Not like terrible, like, oh my God.
No,
what's
she looks
hap-"
like she needs to go like lay down and be alone for a while.
I was like, she needs a back rub and a hug and a good cry and like
Like a hot tub and a glass of champagne or something? I don't know. Something.
and like a really good night's sleep. She looked tired
like an IV
and
drip.
annoyed and puffy and like just
Well, her-
exhausted.
Her voice was so tired sounding when she came out to give the roses. She's like, didn't really. I mean, I honestly would not have been surprised if they just skipped the rose ceremony again based on that conversation, the way she looked.
Totally. And
Yeah,
I can
you're right.
imagine too that as a guy who really cares about her and is building a relationship with her, so like Jed and Mike,
Tyler,
and
Connor.
Tyler and Connor and Peter, these guys have to be watching this being like, this sucks. Like, can these guys stop creating this shit? And can I just spend time with this girl that I really like?
Yeah.
And then to see someone who you care about in pain also sucks. It
Yeah.
just, I felt so bad for everybody.
Yep. All right. So rose ceremony time. Peter. I forget who had a rose going into this.
It was 3 of them. It was Jed,
Garrett, and Tyler.
Yes, Tyler, because
Okay.
he had the one-on-one date last week.
Okay, Jed, Garrett, and Tyler have roses already. So Peter gets a rose, Connor, Dylan, Dustin, Mike, Kevin, Devin, Grant, and the abuser, Luke P.
How is Grant still there?
Grant is still there because he needed to be in this episode for my favorite freeze frame of the entire series so far, which is his face later on in the episode when Luke P is just saying some stupid shit, and it's amazing. That's why he's on the episode.
I don't know. He must be just a really fun, nice guy to have around because we have not seen like one conversation between him and Hannah. He looks like he's about 20 years older than her, even though he's not. He kind of looks like he's drunk all the time, even though, again, he's not. Like, I don't know how he's still there, but he must be lovely.
He's super, I don't know. He's super funny. John Paul Jones goes home. Bye.
That was surprising.
Why? We saw nothing about him except for he had the fortitude to try to learn how to unicycle on TV.
You know, I guess I was just surprised that, like, Grant stayed and John Paul Jones didn't.
I think that Grant probably is entertaining in some way, and John Paul Jones has nothing more than the way he says his name. From what I can see, he's also very pale. So I'm curious to see if he goes on Bachelor in Paradise.
He's 100% will go on Bachelor in Paradise.
It's very pale.
I mean, do you think he's film? They're filming now.
I don't know.
Do you think he's on it? I do.
I mean, yeah. I would say that they need a ridiculous character. He's a ridiculous character. He's also very pale. Don't make fun of that.
Oh, yeah.
And
that'd be me. Oh.
No, you tan well. He's not going to tan. He's going to burst into flames.
I don't tan well.
Yes, she does.
My arms tan well.
Okay.
My legs do not. My legs are John Paul Jones.
All right. So Hannah starts talking about how her heart wants Luke P, which now we can just call him Luke because there's no 2 Lukes, which is great. That's 1 syllable less effort for me.
Oh, God.
So she's like, my heart wants him, even though my head sometimes doesn't. And it's... So what I diagnose in this situation, my opinion on this, is that she doesn't want to hear the truth. Part of her knows.
Yeah.
Her brain knows this is a problem keeping him around. Something is bad around him. Something around him. I mean, she says like 4 times that she sees a bunch of red flags. What do normal people do in dating situations when they see red flags? That's the thing. So she knows something is wrong.
Okay.
But doesn't want to accept it.
I know for facts that both of us have dated people before we were with each other.
Oh, they had red flags?
Where there were plenty of red flags. And we were like, I don't see any red flags.
Yeah.
Even though consciously you're like, there are red flags there.
Okay. 100%.
Okay.
Do you know how I could know that, though? Is because I have gone through a normal dating situation in life. I haven't been on TV dating like 20 people at once where some people have red flags and some people don't have red flags. Because then, you know what I would do? Write down a list of people who had red flags and just start crossing off names.
Yeah, but wait a minute. When I was online dating, there was a pool of more than 30 men. And there were times where I was dating a few people at once.
Well, see, and now that's your personal experience because I haven't experienced that.
I know, but what I'm saying is that I think we have all felt a draw to somebody before where we don't want to give up on that and we want to explore it more even when we're experiencing red flags.
Okay. Okay. You've got a point there. Okay, so you have a point, but the rest of my thing is that I don't know what it's going to take for her to accept that there's too many red flags, and I do know for a fact that when it does come out, she is making it more painful for herself.
Oh, absolutely.
By continuing this on.
100% is. But all I'm saying is that I don't want to criticize her because I think that most of us have been in that position before where there has been that draw. Logic says no for whatever reason, regardless of if it's behavior like Luke P, if it's just like an instinctual thing, if it's like he lives 5,000 miles away or she lives 5,000 miles away, whatever it is. And we have said, you know what, I'm going to look past these, try to figure it out, and then I'll come back to it, even if it's caused more pain later.
All right. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm just saying that I think it's
yeah.
a fair human experience, especially at 24 years old.
Also that. So that happens. We get one clip before the commercial break. And this is the first time I see this happen. However, it happens a couple more times throughout the episode, I think. The instant that Luke P feels any amount of control or confidence in the situation, he immediately tries to taunt and be aggressive towards the men. So he goes through and he starts talking openly to the guys like he's leading the group, and they all kind of start ignoring him and walking away. But he starts, as soon as he feels comfortable, he starts talking shit and being aggressive and manipulative to the men, which is really interesting. When he's not feeling confident, he's very passive, very almost submissive in his behaviors. He won't look guys in the eyes. He won't turn towards them. He has a very weird behavior pattern based on what he thinks he's in control of on the show. It's 100%. Really interesting.
That's an excellent observation. So they fly to Scotland.
Yay, Scotland. I love Scotland. I'd love to visit.
I know. I'm really excited they went to Scotland. I think that in past seasons, some of the travel has kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Or they go to I don't know. This was great. I thought it was a great location. I really liked the dates. They all seemed really fun and things like I'd want to do.
Inverness, Scotland?
That I did not.
I think it's the name of the city they were in.
Write down. So we start off at Scotland. It's like B-roll of the guys exploring Scotland without Hannah. And surprise, Hannah walks in. I loved this. Because she was like, oh, they didn't tell you that I was coming? And they're like, no. And so after she leaves with Mike, who gets the one-on-one, yeah, go Mike. Mike Train, choo-choo. Garrett and Jed start talking about how they think that Hannah noticed when she walked in who kind of put it on. And, oh, Hannah's here. Let me go from oh, hey, da-da-da-da-da, like that kind of switch.
I like your impression.
Thanks. And that she wants people who are themselves all the time, no matter what the situation is. And that's not to say that we all don't have different things that come out around certain people, right? We're all, if I'm around my theater nerd friends, I'm way more theater nerdy than if I'm around my therapist friends. That doesn't mean that I'm a different person.
Right.
It's just different facets of me. But she wants somebody like Garrett and Jed were saying that's just themselves no matter what.
Yeah.
And Luke P responds to this. This is after Hannah left.
Oh, God, this is so
weird. By
weird.
saying, this is the quote. Well, it's not necessarily who can be the most themselves, but that we can all be ourselves. I don't know about you guys, but I know we're all trying our best to be ourselves here.
I have a term that I like to use. I don't know where I learned this term. I have a term I like to use in this case. It's called word salad, where it's a bunch of words, and they don't really mean anything, but you put them together because he needed to say something at that point.
What does this mean?
Nothing. It means nothing. It's a word salad.
I mean, that's not the psychological definition of word salad, but I know what you mean.
Fair enough. Okay. So
that's like a symptom of schizophrenia.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's not this.
Okay, fair enough.
But I understand what you're saying, and I think that it probably got a pop culture definition, like bipolar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just words. It means nothing.
Yep.
It means nothing. And the guys are just all staring at him with
really, bro?
Right,
really?
Why? Why did you need to speak if you had nothing to say?
Oh, this is when Grant makes the face.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. He's so exasperated. If we have a feeling sheet that we use for our communication scripts at Wright Wellness Center where it helps people kind of explain what their feelings are. It's a bunch of funny emoji style faces with the word of the feeling beneath it. And I kind of want to delete the image that's for exasperated and use Grant's face.
Do you have it on your phone? You can hold it up to the camera.
On my cracked screen phone? Yeah, I'll do it. Photos. So, Grant's face. Oh, it's so good. All right, I'm going to try to do this justice on my phone. and I'm going to hold it up. That's Grant's face with my cracked phone. He's so done. He's so done listening to this.
Oh, it was amazing. Amazing.
So, here's something that I did notice right before this starts, because I really want to talk about Mike's one-on-one. I even wrote down finally something to enjoy in this episode.
Yes.
Hannah starts off the Scotland thing saying she wants to leave the drama behind and have a really good reset, while continuing to bring the person who creates the drama along with her. So you see how your words and actions don't match up at this point. Mm-hmm. Additionally, she tells the guys before they go off on the one-on-one that she's asking for a reset and to move forward. That last couple weeks never happened. And that, it reminds me of what people who have been abused say. It's fine. Let's just move forward. Let's just act like that never happened. Let's just keep going, and I don't want to talk about it anymore or address it. It's odd. It's very odd. Okay.
It was gross.
It was gross. I appreciated how the guys didn't give Luke any room to keep lying and basically just stop talking to him.
Yeah. Essentially, so Luke says, which made me want to gag, he says, "You are so not what Hannah... You are so what's not for Hannah." That was the quote.
Yeah.
First of all,
what?
That's not English. I mean, it's English.
It's English
but
words.
Not coherent. His story changes to placate whoever he's talking to. Yep. And that's the word that, I was like, what word am I looking for? And it's placation. It's not even so with Hannah, he's a little manipulative. And sometimes a lot, but it's more placation. He does not want conflict surrounding him, yet he's creating conflict. Right. So it's like he throws fire onto it, and then he'll do anything to be the hero to put the fire out.
Oh, like a firefighter who starts fires.
Yes.
There's a term. They use that in Criminal Minds a lot.
Yes.
Ooh.
That's what he's doing. And then when the guy is like, well, why'd you start the fire? He's like, no, it wasn't my intention to start the fire. I put out the fire. I was the one. It was just an accident. And then and the words again don't make sense. Jed starts getting incredibly defensive for Hannah, which I actually didn't mind.
In this case, he did a good job.
Yeah, I didn't like that he was like, what did he say?
Well, here's what he says. He says he confronts him. They're all kind of discussing after Hannah leaves. That's when Luke says that none of the guys here are really for her. And I wrote, okay, does she know that? Because she's currently on a date with someone. So maybe she actually thinks that the guys are there for her.
Fucking guy.
Jed confronts Luke in front of everybody, and he tells him, stop twisting everyone's words. Don't do it anymore. And then he says, and keep our names out of your mouth, which I don't love that phrase. I don't know what it is. It's always kind of bothered me. It's always used in a very aggressive way.
It is.
Often used in an aggressive way.
It is.
And he says, no more crossing the line. Don't put anybody else's word or names in your mouth, especially not mine, in kind of an or else phrasing.
Yeah, which is like...
What are you going to do? You going to fight on TV?
Also, what?
You going to write a song about it?
Just leave it with stop. Anyway, then we go to a commercial and we come back and it's Mike and Hannah's one-on-one.
What a breath of fresh air in this episode.
Oh, it was so nice.
They eat candy, they flirt, they do whiskey tastings.
She gets drunk.
They play pool together. It's super fun. This is a date that a human being goes on and has a really good time. It's great to see.
Yeah, they're really cute together. I don't think that she feels it as much for him as his excitement is towards her, but I think that they both like each other.
Yeah.
And I would love for him to be the next Bachelor. It's
Same.
about due time that we have a man of color be the Bachelor. And Mike is articulate. He's charming. He is grounded. He's 31. Mm-hmm. He has, as Hannah says, he has a lot of layers to him, and that's what makes him attractive to her.
Yeah.
And I think that would create a really dynamic lead as a Bachelor, which we frankly haven't had for a hot minute.
Yeah.
So he talks about how he says, last time I was this nervous, it was December 24th, 2013.
Oh, you're going right to the dinner.
Oh, yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Was there anything else that...
I I don't know. They're pretty adorable and they're kind of buzzed together. They eat haggis unintentionally.
Yeah.
And realize it. That was funny. Yeah, they go right to the dinner. It's fine. They dedicate some more screen time to Luke for no reason in the middle of the date, and now here we are.
Yeah.
Dinner time.
One of the things that stuck out to me at dinner was she said, so he's like, yeah, we had a lot of whiskey. And she goes, well, I felt comfortable to have a great time with the whiskey. And how I interpreted that was I felt comfortable to let my guard down and to be a little buzzed and drunk in front of you because I felt safe.
Yeah.
And that's an incredibly wonderful indicator of a healthy, dynamic.
It's physical respect and everything.
Right.
It's great.
Like
Yeah,
she
it's
trusts
really good.
Mike. And I think that ultimately that trust may feel a bit more platonic than what is needed for a long-term romantic relationship, but I think that there's a mutual attraction and a mutual respect there, and I think it's lovely.
He asks a really good question on the date. He asks her about her past and how she got to where she is and all of that, and it opens up the door for her to explain a little bit more about herself, for him to get to know her more.
Which I loved.
Yeah,
I loved
absolutely.
This was like the first time we got to hear more about her.
And her journey of understanding that her perfectionist background from pageants aren't healthy, and she's trying to work on that. And, she said the last 2 years have been really difficult, but also really amazing, and all this growth is really, really great. And Mike keeps smiling, laughing, and sharing how nervous he is, and it's super endearing. Like, they have a really great time on the date. It's really, it was really endearing, yeah.
It's like you could tell he wanted to open up so much, but he was so scared to do it. And it wasn't this put on, oh my God, I'm so nervous.
He didn't say it only, he showed it while saying it.
And she made this comment about I said he gets really nervous. It's so genuine. She says that if this is going to work, he has to risk it, even though this is a really scary way to fall in love. And I love that.
That's the show.
Yeah, but it's true.
Totally.
He has to talk about things on a national television show that, he doesn't have to, but if he wants a chance of it to happen, that he has to. And I think that is a great lesson in general for people, that even in the real world, when you're not on TV, it's scary to open up to somebody and share with them your past and your feelings and what's going on for you, not just facts about you.
And the hard stuff. It was good.
That's the only way to form a true connection, is to do that. So either don't do it or don't be mad when you're not with someone.
Right. So we go to commercial break, and we come back for the group date announcement while Mike and Hannah are still on the date. The group date is going to be Devin, Tyler, Jed, Dylan, Grant, Connor, Dustin, Peter, Kevin, Garrett, and that means that Luke P. gets his one-on-one. Awesome.
No, okay, hold on. I was actually glad. I was glad for two reasons.
Well, yeah.
Number one, I did not want him on the group date again. And I wanted Hannah to experience what a group date was like without Luke.
Right. I share my frustration with that and the fact that he's still around. I think that this was the best choice moving forward.
Right, but he's still there, so I
know. So immediately he starts openly talking about this is the control switch again. Now that he feels in control because he gets the one-on-one, he immediately starts talking about how he needs to decide if he still wants to be there. And this is on camera, recorded, and presented to the nation. I say that very intentionally for later on in the episode. I wrote down he wants to make sure that Hannah still deserves him, and then I wrote fuck this guy. So that summarizes my opinion on that.
This is when Devin says one of my favorite new phrases
God,
in life.
It.
He calls Luke P a douche canoe.
A big douche canoe.
I don't know what it means. It doesn't make sense.
But I love it.
But I love it so much.
100%. And this is that control switch. It's him bragging and taunting and being disrespectful to the men the second he feels control.
Yeah.
So we go back to dinner. Mike is really nervous again. They keep talking about it. But she holds space really well. She lets him feel it. And she's like, no, but if you're nervous, then say what you're feeling. And
she's
he does.
Say it.
He tells him that he could see himself proposing at the end if it's him.
Yep.
And they smile. They kiss. She tells him his vulnerability is really amazing, and she's really happy that he's there, and all the things.
I wish that we clearly missed a huge part of their conversation.
Yeah.
And I really wish that we had seen more. However, I also think that this is like a tease at it about Mike, because it's like, you like him,
all the good
don't
stuff.
you? Do you want to come learn more? Watch him on either Bachelor in Paradise or as The Bachelor.
I'm done. They sold me.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Because she says tonight we had the best conversation. And I was like,
okay. I mean,
why didn't we hear more of that?
well, classic. My hot take on this is that she's intimidated by Mike in some ways, and that's going to result in her not bringing him along to the end. He's older. She basically spells it out. He's older, wiser, has a lot more life experience. I think the layers thing, while a positive in the way she says it, I think it's indicative of a deeper uncomfortability with herself, that she's not. I think that she doesn't think she's able to be with someone who is like him, more in control of his life, more assertive of himself or assured of himself. I don't know. I see her uncomfortable a little with that. I don't know.
They seem at different places in life.
Yeah.
Even though they're both saying they want the same thing.
Right.
Again, I just think that they're not super compatible timing wise. It's not like.
Yeah, because there's been plenty of couples where the one person's 30-something and one person's 20-something.
Yeah, it's not
normal.
about age.
I think that she's intimidated by him in just the way that he has so much life experience, where she shared that she's sort of had a limited life experience because it's been pageants and then this, and we don't know much else.
Yeah, I think that she looks up to Mike.
Yeah, 100%.
And whether that turns into intimidation or if that is what creates the attraction, kind of like a student-teacher type
right.
dynamic.
When I say intimidation, it's not like Luke P trying to intimidate people. It's her feeling a little off center around Mike because she's.
That's a really good distinction.
Absolutely, it's not like threatened. It's creating like self-doubt almost around whether she's the right person for him, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, commercial break, group date time.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good. I loved this group date. It was so nice.
What did you like about it?
Well, the guys immediately share they're happy Luke P is not there.
So were we.
So were we. So it's a physical competition again, and at first I was like, "Oh, good, this again." But Luke not being there brought it to exactly what I wanted out of physical competition around men on national television.
Yes.
This was fun. It was goofy. There was zero aggression. There was even a wrestling part of this where the guys were actively trying to combat each other. And it was fun. They were laughing. They were being silly. This reminded me, back in the day when I lived in my hometown, my buddies and I, when we were like 19, 20 years old, we would play a game called Manhunt, which is sort of like tag and hide and seek, but we play it at night in the woods and all that. And you'd have to basically tackle your friends to tag them. And it was that same level of we're not trying to actively hurt each other, but we're being physical, and it's funny and it's ridiculous. And that's what this reminded me of. The guys just got to be dudes and hang out and be silly and stupid together.
Yeah, also the physical competition, similar to Becca's lumberjack date, were not indicative of how long you're in the gym. It was more other skills. So like they had to run with the milk buckets hanging without spilling it, and throw the axe into the wood, which by the way, during practice, none of the guys were able to do, but Hannah did. And it was awesome.
Yeah, it was good. And there's just no aggression. And
none.
It showed how fun these group dates can be because you let the guys be guys. That's what Hannah's looking for, a dude. She's looking for a manly man who can do manly things. This is a way of fleshing out how physically capable they are while also making sure that they're not crazy roid rage.
Yeah, I really liked what she said. She said, I'm looking for strength, not just physical strength, but strength of heart. And I think that really clarified kind of what she was trying to say in the episode previous, where she was like, I want a strong man who will compete, but I don't want them to get hurt. Like, it wasn't making full sense.
Yeah.
And then this statement really kind of brought it together for me. And I was like, oh, okay, got it.
So we see more of the competition. It's fun. And then it cuts back to what I call the one-on-one in the castle, where it's obviously staged. The producers were like, okay, Mike, you sit at this couch. Luke, you sit on this couch directly across him. We need some B-roll. And Mike is talking to Luke, and he's done this a couple times, and he has sometimes stumbled in his confrontations with Luke and gets a little bit aggressive and frustrated, which I understand because I probably do the same thing in his situation. But he's trying to kind of talk down Luke a little bit and sort of like get him to see why people are so annoyed with him. And Mike's like, hey, man, you said that you aren't really sure if you want to be here, and that's like concerning for all of us and for me. And Luke snaps at him. He's like, I never said that.
He said, I never questioned if I want to be here.
I never said that. And that's why I said earlier, he says exactly that. Literally the thing that he says he's not saying, he said earlier in the episode on TV, on recorded TV, that was shown to us.
It was a blatant lie.
So instead of being like, dude, you're a fucking liar, Mike goes, hey, man, I think you have selective memory. Which, yeah.
Oh, I died.
That was good. So
I died. It was amazing.
We go back to the competition. All the guys still suck at axe throwing.
Wait. Before we go back to the competition, we get this really weird edit of Mike reading the Loch Ness Monster book, and then he calls him the Luke Ness Monster. It was kind of dumb, and also I was like, way to use the time that you had alone, producers. But I just wanted to acknowledge it.
However, I believe the Luke Ness Monster thing is actually a producer influence because all the guys start using it, and it's unclear as to where it comes from. I call blame on the producers.
Unless one of the guys happened to have it pop out of their mouth and then it caught on.
Maybe it's Grant.
Fucking Grant.
Grant for Paradise. I want to see you there, man.
Redemption. Let's learn about you.
Next two bachelors away.
No, he absolutely not.
We don't know anything about him yet.
Exactly. He is not remotely
all right
magnetic.
So they go back to the competition. Oh, come on. You don't know.
I do.
Well,
we've seen enough. I can tell you.
We've seen nothing. So anyway, we go back to the competition. The guys all can't throw axes still, except for Tyler. Tyler nails it. They're all wearing kilts now,
you
too.
You skipped them taking off their underwear in the woods.
Being filmed.
I have a question about this. Were they wearing cups? Because they kept saying, oh, my mom's going to be mad because everybody saw my butt. And they kept saying, like, my butt is showing. But
one guy said that.
Hannah says, I saw
the whole
bagpipe.
Situation.
And she's like, it's not how big the bagpipe is, but how you play it.
Sounds like.
Which kind of,
Is she the one playing the bagpipe? I'm confused by that.
I didn't like that.
All right, so Tyler, they're doing so they're wearing kilts. It's like a Scottish competition.
Which
There's
is
a crowd.
Fine.
Sure, right, it's fine.
Yeah.
So axe throwing. Tyler gets the axe in the wood, which is awesome.
Tyler's so hot.
So the guys are also having fun competing. They do the milk race. Jed dumps the bucket of milk all over himself at the end of the milk race.
He was having fun.
They're all having fun. The wrestling is funny and non-aggressive. And it's the same, like, bullshit, silly guy stuff where, like, one guy knocks the other guy over. He's like, haha, dude, I saw your nuts.
Yeah.
And that's what it's supposed to be like. That's hilarious, stupid, and funny all at once.
Even the biggest, like, differentiator for me was, Jed wins the competition. And
we got to talk about how, though.
Yes. He and Hannah share a kiss. And the rest of the guys, it's not like they're like, yay, I love seeing Hannah kiss another guy. But they were, like, respectful of the moment. And even, like, Peter, you could tell that his, like, and Tyler's faces were like, oh, God, I hate this. But they were nice and kind and did not let that discomfort come out as aggression. And I found that to be a sign of emotional maturity and, quite frankly, emotional self-regulation.
I think this group of men are, with the absence of Luke, both of them in this case, I think they're actually probably really good friends and starting to bond a lot.
It sure seems like
Devin taunts Jed. So what happens is Jed asks, they're doing the wrestling thing, and Jed picks Hannah as his competition for the wrestling thing. And so he, obviously, like, lets her throw him down really, really easily. And then they get a kiss on the ground. And that way Jed wins the trophy. And as Jed's walking away, Devin's like kind of whispering, he's like, boo. So they're teasing each other openly, that's a sign of respect, friendship, and understanding.
Yeah, it just felt good.
Right. So I wrote a list of, Hannah started making comments about what she found hot and sexy during this competition. So I made a short list.
Oh, really?
Number 1, axe throwing. Hannah finds that hot. Number 2, pouring milk all over oneself. Hannah also finds that attractive. Number 3, wearing a kilt. Very attractive to Hannah. And number 4, finally, being Tyler. Hannah loves it when you're Tyler. She finds that very attractive.
I mean, I love it when you're Tyler.
I
love you.
Commercial break. And we come back to Hannah has come so far. She gives a great toast.
Oh, she does. It was great.
It was redemption altogether. So continue.
She also talks about how she's excited to have a good night with the guys without Luke P.
She notices the difference.
Yeah, so she's starting to realize not only how different she feels, but how different the guys are when he's not there, which was great. The first person she talks to is Jed because he won, and she basically starts straddling him as best she can in her like super tight dress.
I think he even asks, like, "Can you actually like open your legs that wide?"
And she's like, "I don't care." The chemistry between them is very very strong.
Handful of her butt.
Many,
two handfuls.
Many handfuls.
So what's great about this, which speaks more to the way the guys are with each other.
So great.
So, you know how the cocktail party after a hangout thing, guys always interrupt each other like, "Oh, can I get some time with her?" So she is full on like with
making
and
out.
like Jed's got the hands on the butt and everything.
Like
that thing. And Kevin comes up the stairs to see if he gets time because we haven't seen anything of Kevin.
Poor Kevin.
And I know, broken, like he injured his arm and now he's here. And he sees it and he's kind of like, "Ooh, this is uncomfortable." And he like kind of sees that they're gonna end if they notice he's here, and they don't. So he's like, I'm just gonna go. And he comes back down. And basically, like...
Oh, and he talks about how he and Hannah haven't kissed yet.
Oh, yeah. He's like, well, all these guys are getting, like, really friendly, and I haven't kissed her. So we come back. Kevin's sitting with the guys, and Jed comes back down, and the guys are like, "Hey, how was it?" And Jed plays it really cool. He's like, "It was really good. We had some good time together." And then Kevin just blows him the fuck up, and he goes, "Yeah, I saw how good of a time you were having." And Jed loses it. He starts laughing. And this is what's been missing from the previous episode of The Bachelorette that I watched with Becca, is the guys were always so, like, dick measure-y, gotta be in control, who's the alpha, whatever bullshit that they were spreading.
This wasn't like that at all.
They're all laughing at each other and making fun of Jed, who was, like, full on making out with the girl they're supposed to go date with. It's hilarious. Like, this is what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah, it was really fun. And, like, Jed was like, "How long were you standing there?" And then all the other guys were just laughing, and Jed's like kind of half embarrassed but half like,
he's like, "Yeah,
well,
we
you
were
saw
making
this
out."
like, "Oh, we did that."
Yeah,
it was just really, I liked that moment.
I think it also speaks to the men understanding that Jed clearly has an advantage over most of them, and they recognize it. Like, they know they're going to keep trying, but they're also like, this dude's clearly out in front.
Yeah, I think it also speaks to Kevin's character and his self-esteem to be able to be like, okay, this girl might not be for me, clearly, because we haven't even kissed by now, and she's like laying down with other people. But I can still have fun and enjoy this process, and it doesn't say anything about me as a person.
Yeah.
And, like, that's really cool. So then Peter takes her to the pool table room.
Oy.
I love Peter. He's so sweet. He's so sweet. He tries to be, like, domineering and, like, toss Hannah onto the pool table. And, like, she hits her head on the light.
And she's like, "What are you doing?"
And he's like, "Well, can we try that again? I've never done this before." And she's like, "Me neither." And they lay down together and make out on the table. Once they were actually on the table, other than me worrying that it was going to fall, they looked like they were having a lot of fun. And that was really sweet. The physical chemistry between Peter, Jed, and Tyler with her are... I'm feeling
final three.
That 100%. Those are my top three.
And
like,
I'm thinking Jed or Tyler and Peter is final two.
You just said the top three.
No. But I'm saying that at the very end of it, it's going to be Jed or Tyler as one, and then Peter will be there.
Oh, so you think Peter's 100% top two?
I think so. I think that we're going to see, very similar to Becca's season, how it was like nice guy really trying his best, Blake, versus the guy that she was clearly more physically into the entire time, Garrett.
Interesting.
I think it's going to be a Tyler or Jed, and then Peter. That's my thing, I think.
I don't have thoughts on that yet.
Fair
but
enough.
Top three for sure.
Right. So there's...
Tyler kept his kilt on, and that's hilarious. And she says, "You're the only one that could wax the axe." And he thinks that she says, "You're the only one that could wax my ass."
And he's like, "Oh, okay."
And they laugh a lot. She brings him onto a bed.
Tyler does call her out. He's like, I noticed you were peeking up my kilt a little bit. And she's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
He's like, yes, guys notice it too.
This was such a breath of fresh air. Like,
Yeah.
this whole date was so refreshing,
Yeah.
and it reminded me, even as a viewer, how much energy Luke P is sucking away from the joy of this show.
Absolutely.
This show can be so fun and so joyful, even when there's drama. But Luke P has brought it to a level, and we'll talk about this at the end, and then I don't even want to spend that long on it.
I don't either.
Because they gave him enough airtime. But
like the Luke P show.
it was so refreshing to see these guys just be themselves and interact with her and be present. It was great. So they make out on a bed.
Yeah, she's very, very physical this date afternoon, evening time, and it's really refreshing.
Yeah, it was great.
She's like,
it was a
these
very
guys
sex
are hot,
positive,
and I'm going to climb up on them like they're trees.
which she does.
Try to get that fruit.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Jed gets the group date rose for obvious reasons because he poured milk all over himself and wore a kilt. That's two things.
And one. And grabbed her butt many times.
Oh, and they also got a little a
deed.
1 square foot deed. So they're Lord and Lady of Scotland something.
Highlands? The Scotland Highlands.
Kind of like when you buy you name a star. Cool.
Yeah.
And it's like yours. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's cute.
It's fine.
So Luke gets the date card, and Mike refuses essentially to go get it and read it, which is typically what they do.
He just leaves.
The doorbell rings. Mike gets up as though he's going to walk to the door, and he just leaves. And Luke's like, well, okay. And then talks to himself and reads the date card to himself.
Get used to it, man. It's going to be the rest of your life. Talking to yourself.
So we go to commercial. We come back. Luke says goodbye to the guys and tries to, he's like, oh, I heard you were all wearing
Tries to like
kilts.
engage with the guys.
And they're not having it. Like they understand his bullshit now, and they're not engaging in this. And okay, I want to can I say something about this?
Sure, so box it up.
Okay. I saw some stuff online last night and heard some commentary, bless you, that the guys were being rude to Luke by ignoring him and by not engaging with him. They were not being rude to Luke. Luke has set up a precedent, a standard of how he behaves. And the men have chosen to set a boundary. The men have chosen to not engage with this man who is creating conflict and manipulating people. That is not being rude. It is not rude to set a boundary. And this is so important, especially as women. We have a harder time, generally speaking, setting boundaries. And the last thing that I want out there in the world is that these guys, by not interacting with this abusive asshole, that they're the rude ones. There is no reason to feel bad for Luke P. Luke P has manipulated and lied openly to these guys and has said that he does not care about these guys. So these guys choosing to not engage with him is not rude. It is self-protection. And I think that that is such an important distinction. And just to see that some people were feeling bad for Luke P, he knows what he is doing. He knows with every fiber of his being what he is doing. And those men set a boundary, and that was lovely. They did not do anything wrong. Soapbox over.
I like it. That's what happens. He tries to engage, and they're not having it. Because why would you? This person has openly demonstrated that he is going to lie about what you say to him. He's going to lie about what he says to you. And he's going to do everything in his power to get what he wants, regardless of the person he's wanting it with, which is a concerning trait. The guys want nothing to do with him. They saw how he treated Luke S., and they know to just basically avoid at all costs, and when they need to, confront, which is something that Garrett continues to do, which I appreciate. because he doesn't antagonize him. He presents the actions that Luke has done in front of him and says, I don't like that. You're doing this. He says, and this is one of the very few times I actually enjoyed the phrase, be a man. Because I usually don't like that, because usually it's a personal impression or opinion on what being a man is. Garrett says, be a man and keep our names out of your mouth. And usually I wouldn't like that, but at this point, he is saying what they're all thinking. They're like, hey, you go do your one-on-one. None of us like it, but you go on your one-on-one and don't bring us with you.
So I agree with you. The only reason why I don't like that is that it implies that being a man is having integrity. And being a woman can also have integrity. So why is it be a man? Why isn't it just be a good person and keep our names out of your mouth?
Because be a good person doesn't land as hard. And I don't know.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like
no,
that,
I agree with
that's
you.
my issue with the phrase. I totally understand why he said it, and I'm cool with that.
I do think I know why. Well, I have a suggestion as to why. Because Luke P thinks he's a man.
Ah, okay.
And so Garrett's like, you be what? Yeah, he's like, so you be you.
Okay, that's fair.
You be, and so
That's
like,
totally fair.
Luke's like, of course I will. And Garrett says, okay, you said that. Garrett asks Luke to reiterate the fact that he will not talk shit about them, which, surprise, surprise, he does anyway.
Yeah. So Luke meets Hannah, and
Hannah starts the date out in an ITM by listing all of the red flags she's seen about him so far, and there are many.
So many.
He tries to kiss her right away, and she deflects and goes for the hug.
Yes. He tells her that anything he says, the guys blow out of proportion, which is a form of gaslighting. She says to him, I don't want to know what happened. I want to know how it made you feel.
Yep.
And he says exactly what happened again, and then says, I know that it's not right, but it's not affecting me because I'm here for you. I want to give you clarity. That's all I want for you.
Clarity.
Again, the
What
words
is it?
mean nothing.
So what's happening here, and it's difficult to get into this because this is just...
Yeah, we don't need to do the back and forth here.
Right, so what she's asking the whole time, she's like, hey, how come all the guys hate you? And he starts just making stuff up, and she circles back multiple times like, but everyone seems to have an issue. What?
Because he explains the Luke S situation, and she's
Right.
like, but I don't care about that. Why
Right.
does everyone have a problem with you?
Then he says Mike is causing issues, and then Dylan and Devin are talking shit to him and being mean. It's constantly that, and then she says something very impactful and very indicative of who she is as a person. She says she wants to be with someone that people want to be around. And his response to that is that everyone I've ever met has loved me. So we talk about, in the work that Rachel and I do, Wright Wellness Center, how absolutes usually aren't a great way to go about conversation because nothing is anything always, right? You can't always be something.
It's
you can't
gravity.
never be
Gravity
anything.
is always.
Okay,
no,
yeah,
not even. In space, it's not there.
That's
Nothing
right.
is always.
Right. Nothing is always. Right? And I will reference my background as a nerd. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. In the event Star Wars and all of that is real, Luke P is on the dark side. Let's get that very straight. Because he deals in absolutes. And that's a concern for me, both as a Star Wars fan and someone watching the show.
Yeah. So Hannah is essentially trying to tell him two things. I want to learn about you as a person. And she uses examples like, do you like spaghetti or macaroni better? What is your relationship like with your dad? Things like that.
Which we got no answers to, by the way.
Which he still did not answer. All he responded to her with was, but I want to give you clarity.
So,
well, maybe if you answered her question and talked about which pasta you like and what your relationship with your dad is, then it would give her fucking
So regardless of what actually happens on the day, here's what I realized, and this is really, really great. Hannah is playing whack-a-mole conversation with Luke.
Totally.
He just keeps saying different things, and she just keeps hitting them all as he keeps saying them because he's not actually saying anything. And he constantly blames the other guys. So what the whack-a-mole metaphor works for me because every time that she presents something, he tries to get out of it in 3 or 4 different ways. He says, let's go for a walk. Let's go over here. I'm just here for you. Clarity.
I want to give you clarity.
And she's like, that's not what I'm saying. Stop saying these things. And she keeps whack-a-moling all of his bullshit arguments. And I give her a huge thumbs up for this, because as frustrated and emotionally flooded as she is in this situation, she keeps coming back to, because I think about 3 times on the date, she wants us to end it too. She's like, you know what, whatever. I don't want to keep arguing.
Yep.
I'm exhausted. I'm exasperated, which is often a goal of someone who's manipulating someone else, is to get them off center so they can keep gaslighting and pushing their agenda to them. So she's suffering the consequences of being gaslighted and manipulated. But then as soon as he opens his mouth, as soon as they go to see the castle, which he says like 4 times, let's go see this castle, let's just whatever. Immediately she's like, but no, hold on. You didn't say anything yet. And she keeps coming back to it and not letting him escape the conversation, which I thought was awesome.
I agree. And at one point she asked to step away to talk to the producers, which I will say, okay, as a whole, I really liked this breaking of the fourth wall.
Yes.
I liked seeing the interaction between the lead and the producers. Now, what the producers said, the first part was very manipulative themselves. The second part I thought was actually funny. So
Yeah.
she's talking to the producers, and the manipulative piece that I heard was the producer kept telling her, this just takes time. It takes time. And the way that I interpreted that was they're trying to get her to keep him on the show longer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that she's seeing all these red flags and that it's causing her deep emotional pain.
And preventing the other guys from actually being on the show.
But it takes time.
It takes time. No, it just takes time.
Now, she is...
Did you write the quote down?
Yeah. She is flabbergasted at this point. And she's like, can somebody talk to him about what it means when I say, how do you feel? And the female producer goes, you need to talk to him about that.
Yeah, like, we're not talking
They're
about
like,
it.
we're not going to go talk to him about that. So she comes back from the producers, and then he starts telling her that this hurts him.
What?
And then she acknowledges, you keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, and I need more from you.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the castle.
Clarity.
More clarity, more
He says he wants
exasperation.
to make things right for her a lot. And then he also talks to her like she's a child at this point.
Yeah.
And goes, do I need to explain anything else to you?
It's
Rule
so
of thumb, don't really
patronizing.
say that to like everybody.
So patronizing.
Yeah.
So that basically ends the day portion. They are at the night portion. Hannah talks about how the day was just terrible.
The worst date she's had.
That Luke didn't open up. He says the same thing over and over again. He doesn't say what he's doing wrong. He just makes excuses.
He blames the guys again.
Which I think is a really important distinction. When you're having a conflict with somebody, you want to hear from them what they did, not just I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so let's say Kyle said something that hurt my feelings, and he's like, well, I'm just so tired, and I'm sorry, I'm tired. That doesn't tell me that Kyle knows what he said that hurt me. If he said, I'm really sorry that I said that your eyes looked puffy. I was really tired, and I know it hurt your feelings, and I apologize. That gives me the inner peace of knowing, okay, cool. He knows what happened. He's acknowledging what happened, why. Don't care so much about the why, but like, that's fine to explain yourself, and then apologizes. But Luke is not telling her what it is that he's apologizing for.
Yeah.
And so she starts talking about how she wants a man who is real. She doesn't care if he has flaws. She wants a man that has flaws because we're all human, but she wants somebody who can acknowledge their flaws. Not even because he's like, oh, I'll be mindful of that. And she's like, I don't even need you to be mindful of it. I just want you to acknowledge that you have them. Because he's saying, I don't think I have any of those. At this point, I was like, how much longer is left? I literally turned to Kyle and I was like, how much longer is left in this episode?
Yeah.
I did not want this man having any more airtime.
Right. she goes on to explain more and more about what she's saying, and he says, "You're making sense," like a robot does, and then blames the pressure he's been under over the last few weeks.
And blames her for not being the same her he met on the first night.
Keep in mind, he's not the lead, so who fucking cares about the pressure he thinks he's been under? By the way, you created your own situation.
He says, well, you've been treating me like I'm on thin ice. And she's like,
yeah, you
that's
are.
because you have been. And she says, I don't want to be married to somebody who thinks it's everybody else's fault and can't own up.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was like standing ovation. Finally, not only are we seeing more about Hannah, but we're seeing her assert herself and not just, oh, what are my goals? Oh, I want a husband. She's like, no, I want a husband who is not perfect.
Right.
And who can sit with me and acknowledge their flaws and my flaws and be together. Not this weird robotic. She starts to use the words
that we
weird
were writing.
And robotic.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
God, I love it. And great, they take a rose ceremony away again. Awesome. I love being this carrot dangle bullshit because you know what? I would actually prefer a closed loop of an episode.
Yeah. So I did hear that next week we go back to the normal. There's no more cliffhangers.
Oh, nice.
However, the episode ends. She says, I want to know who you are and I don't. Luke, I can't give you this rose. Now, the scenes for next week show a lot of drama within the guys. However, Luke P is not shown visually until the very end and you see him like praying at a church or something. My prediction personally is that she says, I can't give you this rose, but I don't want to send you home. And that he ends up staying until the rose ceremony so that she has more time to think about it. Because I think that she is so confused about how she was so attracted to this person the first week.
Yeah.
And
now it's this.
How it's been unraveling. And I think that she needs time to process that. I think she knows. I think she knows that it's off. There's something wrong. But she needs some time to let it marinate a little bit. And I think that that's okay.
Yeah.
In general, it bums me out because I think, well, if I were one of the other guys and I saw Luke P come home, I would feel very frustrated that this guy who was creating so much stuff in the house and treating the woman that I was trying to build a relationship with like shit.
If I was one of the other guys and I saw Luke P come home, I would begin to question Hannah and whether or not I'd want to be with a woman or a person or whatever who continues to bring someone who is so openly toxic into her life. I would be concerned if I wanted to be there anymore. I think that's legitimate concern.
And that sucks because I do think that she is handling it in the best way that she can. And yes. I don't think that she would ever pick him. I don't. But I understand because they've only known each other for a certain amount of time. I would also feel that way. Yeah. I would start to question her.
Really? She's going to keep bringing this guy around? Like the guy who got physical first in an aggressive way, the guy who's openly lying to all of us, the guy that we all warned her about, and she's going to keep doing it? Why would I want to stay around this then? I would not be surprised if someone reacts that way.
Yeah.
In the next episode.
And that sucks because she has not seen everything that we've seen, but even with the information that she has, she does need time to process it.
Yeah.
And it's not like she wasn't attracted to him at all at the beginning. Then it'd be easy. Just send him home. Mm-hmm. But that's why there's this internal conflict of how did I want to be with this person so badly and feel a way that, as she said, she had never felt before when she met somebody, and then have it completely fall apart. And so she needs to understand that before she can make a decision that feels in alignment and in integrity with her. But it's going to start to have people start questioning her integrity, and that sucks.
Yep.
And that's the end of the episode. So
awesome. Thanks, ABC. Really fucking up the last 2 episodes for me.
Yeah.
As a viewer and as someone who does this.
So we just wanted to call out, we felt it was very important to acknowledge that not everything that Luke P is doing is abusive. Some of it's just ignorance or kind of being an asshole. But there are things that are abusive and fall under emotional and psychological abuse. Mm-hmm. And if you are sitting at home watching the show or watching this recap or listening to this recap and have experienced somebody in your life like Luke P.
Or are experiencing,
we put some resources for you below.
Yep.
There is a domestic violence hotline along with a domestic violence chat online. And yes, if you hear the word domestic violence and you think of somebody getting hit, that is because that is our society has done that to us. Domestic violence involves emotional and psychological and financial abuse too. It is not just physical. So if you or someone you know is experiencing anything similar, just go read the list of what it is, please, and reach out if you need anything. And I hate that this is even a topic for the show. Like, yes, we like to look at the show through the lens of mental health. Yes, we like to look at the show through the lens of healthy relationships and sex education. But I never thought that we would have to link an abuse hotline in our show notes. I never would have imagined that.
Great casting, ABC.
Yeah.
Top notch. Just really winning it for the women season after season. Putting guys on there that are openly threatening to the other people.
Like
Great.
Lincoln. So with that being said, there are some really incredible guys on this season. And
Jed gets a rose. Mike gets a rose.
And that's it.
And that's it. So just Jed and Mike. We'll see you next week.
So we'll see you next week. It is very exciting for the people who are there and are healthy and treating Hannah with respect and kindness, and that she is treating that way back.
Yep.
So I'm excited for this to end, for the arc of Luke P to come to an end.
Fucking real.
I hope that is next week and that we can all move on from this and enjoy Hannah's journey to find love. And with that being said...
Well, I'm looking forward to exploring more about Grant and who he is and what he can bring to the table. Looking forward to it, man. I'll bring him on the show.
Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe so that you get all the notifications. Leave those ratings and reviews. Comment, hit the thumbs up, whatever platform you're on. And don't ever hesitate to reach out. We will see you next week. Happy birthday, Kyle.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.